Today on Dan and Chris Play Trucks, Dan is going to swap the motor on his Axial SCX24. Here's all the details, and here's Dan.
The first thing you'll need is a RC toolset, the Barrage motor, which comes with a motor and pinion. We have the Barrage motor plate adapter, a solder gun with solder, and lastly the hex that comes with the actual axial itself. The first thing we're going to do is remove the body so we can access everything by removing the two bolts in the back. The next step is we're going to remove the battery tray. So there's actually 4 bolts total. So right now we're removing 2 bolts on the left hand side of the truck. And you flip it around and remove the other 2 bolts on the right hand side.
Battery tray.
And once you've completed, remove the battery tray.
Right out.
Next, we're going to remove the motor and the transmission. There's actually 2 bolts on the bottom, and there's 1 bolt on the top right there. So we've already removed the bottom 2 bolts. So this is the last bolt on the top, and once you remove it, the motor will come out. So now we're actually going to remove these 2 bolts. And with that, the transmission cover will come off, so you can see the gears and the pinion. Next, grab some needle nose pliers and remove this bolt. And this holds in the gear. Next, you're going to remove the drive line that's right next to the actual gear itself. Now we're going to remove the plastic gear. And we're actually going to take out all the bolts except for the motor. Just a special note that the bolts for the actual motor are not the same size as the rest of the truck. The rest of the truck is I think it's a 1.27 millimeter that's included. The motor bolts are actually a 1.5 millimeter hex. So now we're just removing the transmission itself.
Right. These are.
So now we've already removed the axial motor, and we're going to install the new Barrage motor. So the thing with the Barrage motor, it actually has different mounting holes. So we bought this plate from Amazon. It was $12. We'll put the link in the description, and it just makes it a lot easier. You don't have to drill out the other plate, and it actually is good if you want to install the axial back as well. Now that we've mounted the motor back in, we're going to reinstall the transmission.
Insert. Line up.
Make sure to reinstall all 5 bolts. Now that we have the motor and transmission mounted back up, we're actually going to reinstall this plastic gear. Now one side is actually longer than the other, as you can see. Make sure that that's the part that goes against the actual motor mount itself. The next thing we're going to do is reinstall the plastic pinion gear. So there's actually a smooth side and there's just the teeth side. Make sure that the teeth go on the inside. Next, we're going to reinstall the plastic driveline. Once you've tightened everything up, just make sure to move it around that there's no binding in the transmission. And make sure to install the bolt for the plastic gear. Next, we're going to reattach the plastic plate by tightening up the last 2 screws. When putting the motor and transmission back inside, it's easiest to attach the rear of the driveline first and then insert in the front. Now we're going to tighten the top bolt and the 2 bottom bolts to secure the motor and the transmission back into the chassis. So now we have that installed. As you can tell, the Barrage motor is much bigger than the Axial. And due to this, the battery tray actually won't fit inside the way it is. So we have to modify by cutting off one of the legs on it. So next we're going to mount the battery tray back in. So now we're going to plug the motor back in. I want to show you one issue because we think that we're done, but we're not. So let me show you what happens when you just plug it in right now. What happens is when you press forward, the truck goes backwards. When you press backwards, the truck goes forward. So we have to reverse the wires. So in order to fix, we're actually just going to cut the wire in half. Now what we're going to do is we're actually putting the red wire against the black wire and the black wire against the red wire. Special note, please don't make fun of my soldering skills. This is the first time I've ever soldered in my life. But you can solder or you can just put it together and make sure to put some electrical tape on it as well. And now that that's done, we can now plug it in, reattach your body, turn the truck on, and now you have successfully completed the Barrage swap on the Axial SCX24.